Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
You look radiant.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome to IMBU 2019. Can we meet you?
Yeah, my name is Otu Ikechukwu from Success Bay Private School College. My name is Otu Ikechukwu from Private Success School College.
Oh, wow. Ikechukwu, so great to meet you. So how did you learn about IMBU 2019?
Well, it's very good, fantastic. We came to build our knowledge in this place, and we know that we are still going to acquire more. Thank you.
How did you learn about this? Did you see it online? Did someone tell you about it? Or
We saw it online, based on the online they sent to our school, and the school sent to us for us to be able to understand more on it.
wow, very interesting. So what are your expectations from IMBU 2019?
Well, we came to learn, and we know that we are here, and we are going to achieve our aim of coming to this place.
Wow, very great. Hello, good morning. So good to have you at IMBU 2019. All right, can we meet you?
My name is Usegali Fivo. I'm from Success Bay Private School.
Oh, great. Favor, thank you. It's so great to have you here. How did you learn about IMBU 2019?
I was informed by my school. Okay, and yes, that's it.
Okay, so what are your expectations from IMBU 2019?
I don't really know much about the program yet, but maybe when we're about to start, I'll get to learn more about it.
Great. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome to IMBU 2019. You look radiant.
Thank you.
Can we meet you?
My name is Hila Nachuku. I'm a graduate for Bradford 2012 MBA.
Wow, you're a graduate of Bradford. Very interesting. So what role are you playing today?
I'm a general manager of a hair product company, Color Hair.
Oh, wow, very interesting. You're a general manager and a leading firm in Nigeria. Wow, great. So what do you have to say to Nigerian youths?
Nigerian youths have a lot of promise, and there's a lot of opportunities open for them. Bradford helps them with their education and gives them those opportunities. The courses are good. The school is very competitive. So a lot of students that have the opportunity to come to Bradford can get that ability, come back to the country and actually make a big difference.
You look so radiant. I like your eyeglasses. Welcome to IMBU 2019. Can we meet you?
My name is Adinio Fikayo, and I'm an aspiring student of University of Lagos.
Oh, wow, very interesting. How did you learn about this program?
Well, I got to know about IMBU through a family relative, that's my cousin. So, yeah, through my family relative, my cousin. Yeah.
So what are your expectations from IMBU?
Well, I don't really know much about IMBU, but I'm actually here to gain knowledge from like the program, because I've known University of Bradford like way when I was in secondary school, and actually wanted to go there, but due to things I couldn't go. So I'm here to learn some things, and yeah.
Oh, before I forget, we have the last one called the panel session. Very interactive, very engaging, very educating. So just stay put and enjoy every part of the program. I want to invite to the podium. It's a mother, a mentor, the brain behind IMBU 2019, a professor of diversity from University of Bradford, Professor Uduak Ashibong. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes for the podium.
Which can clap be that?
It's working.
You have to behave like Nigerian weather. Yeah. If you want rain, it rain. If you want sun, it day. Make una do like British people. If you want clap, clap well. If you no want clap, no clap. I go no say you no want clap, okay? Thank you very much. It's so much joy to be here. Please, can somebody take this microphone up a bit? It's a bit low. AV, can you take up your microphone? That's better. Thank you. I can hear myself better now. So, as Ms. Titwen has already mentioned, we all know why we're doing this. And I always like to say that University of Bradford has really benefited from Nigeria and Nigerians. We've got to be honest about this. We have nearly 2,000 alumni, people who have graduated from the University of Bradford. And I wanted a situation where we can really come to Nigeria and say thank you. So this is why we're putting up this free event. I believe very strongly that our young people have so much in them, and we need a program that can help them unleash what is already in them. So Inbuilt is a program like one you've never seen. We're not going to beat you up and tell you how horrible you are, because we think there's so much good in the people of Nigeria, in our youth. And by youth, I mean myself. So if you don't want to count yourself youthful, that's your wahala. For me, this is a youth leadership program. How do we contribute from wherever we sit? How do we contribute without titles? I don't need to be the president of Nigeria to lead this country. And so you shouldn't be waiting to be a politician to lead the country. You don't need to be the governor to lead the country. If anything, I challenge people with authorities. Just the name, the title, stops them from hearing what's happening every day in our grassroots. But you are there with your peers all the time. You are the one that would turn around to another young person and say, drop that tramadol. It's not our culture. Okay? So this leadership program is about pulling out what is already in you and giving you some toolkit, some tips on how to make yourself a better Nigerian, a better nation builder. Next slide, please. Oriental Hotel, you have to sort out your technology because it's not working. I've got my clicker with me. It's not clicking. Okay. Next. Next slide, please. Next. Next. Thank you. Stop. Listen, this is going to be really funny. Okay. So this conference is all digital. So most of you have already signed online, and we're going to take that throughout today. So the theme is, we want to tell the world that we are here, and we're going to tweet all the way through. We're going to Instagram all the way through. We're Facebooking all the way through. And if you want to Snapchat, please do, but let me know when I can fix my wig so that you take a better photo of me. So following the theme of making it all digital, we have set up a Slido for this conference. So I want you to pick your phone, and don't tell me you don't have data, because rather than using your data for Facebook and insulting each other, let's use it properly today. So go into your internet and type in www.slido.com. www.slido.com. I'm waiting. Okay. Right, okay. Have you gone as far as that? So it asks you for event code. So you type in R643. R643. Okay. So what you have there is an interactive system that will get you to interact throughout the conference. Write in anything. So type in any question as we are going along today. There will be many activities, like we'll have a few real role models. Who knows, you might bump into a Nollywood star today, but not Big Brother Naija. We don't subscribe to that one. But you might have better role models today, and you will have better role models today. You won't find them in that house. So just keep typing. Questions about Bradford University, about the courses we run, about the topic of today, what's missing, what we have, because we're soon planning the Inbuilt 2020. Is there anything that you think we need to add? Keep typing. And then during the panel session, we will be taking questions from Slido. If you don't have a phone with you, please sit next to somebody with a phone and make sure you also keep telling them things that they need to feed into Slido for you. How many of you knew that on Wednesday last week, Inbuilt Nigeria trended on Twitter? Okay. So that is the power of social media. We trended. And we had so many people turn up in Abuja because of that. So I'm going to move on very quickly to share the program. Next slide, please. Okay. Let's have a few ground rules. This is a public event, and we just want to have a few ground rules. So the first ground rule is it's about leadership as no other. Dignity and respect is number one. So we're going to respect ourselves. If somebody types in a question, it has to be constructive and respectful. During the group sessions, if you have a question or a contribution, we're going to listen to each other. We're not going to speak over each other. Part of dignity and respect. Every contribution counts because we are different. So there are people who are going to ask questions using American accent that I have come to learn in Nigeria. Somebody was telling me about Canada. I said, where you find R for Canada now? My people, I couldn't stop this thing. I mean, I love my accent. I said, he said, I've just sent my children to Canada. I said, where you find R for Canada? Anyway, okay, so every contribution counts. No matter how somebody speaks, as long as we understand, let's respond. We're not going to pretend that one contribution is better than the other. We won't do that. So this is a very inclusive leadership program. The other thing we want to tell you, this is a free event and we open it to public. We've been doing a lot of media, live interviews, AIT, NTA, ITV, City FM, Inspiration FM, you name it. We've been everywhere. We even went to ASO Radio, and I found out the center of Nigeria. This is my third time. But it always amuses me when you go to the center of Nigeria, the only thing you see is a dirty pole with a little stone. And I say, for goodness sake, if this is center of Nigeria, why we not do something with them? So ASO Radio is up there. We got a live interview there. So it means that we will have people from all over. Please look after your belongings, please. Anything you have, just make sure you look after it. We have to be our brother's keeper. So keep an eye on each other. It's an open event. If you see any suspicious activity, please report. We have security all over here. And if there is anything suspicious, please let somebody know. And the last one is, I want to see something as I've never seen before. If somebody walks away and forget their phones, I want you to hand them in. Don't take them. If it's not yours, please hand it in. This leadership program should help us to start doing things differently. So those are our ground rules. Thank you very much for that. Next slide, please. So the program for today, you've registered, and that shouldn't have been exhibition viewing, but you've seen our prospectus and everything. We've done the opening and the welcome address. I'm going to do plenary 1, bringing in 2 topics. So we started off with 4 professors, very eminent in their fields. And we started, you've heard everywhere that we've been up till Saturday. So it's like we're dropping people as we go. But what they've done is leave principles for me to take forward. So I'm going to be every professor that had been. For some of you have seen the flyer, we've had Professor Ngobo Emese, who is the daughter of the soil from Bayelsa. She's Professor of International Law. and heads Bradford University Law School. We also had Professor Owen Green, who is a professor in security and a white man, but a son of the soil. Because of the work that he does, he works with our presidency on small arms security issues all over Africa. We had Mr. Mark Garrett, who is our Director of External Affairs, and Mark has been in Nigeria in the last 18 months. He's been coming with me, and we've been about 4 times. And Mark really has a heart for our country. And sometimes he rings me to say, is there anywhere we can go and let's do X, when he has a dream. He thinks we should all do it here in Nigeria. So I'm really proud that Mark has so much interest. We even had a former ex-Vice Chancellor. Bradford University has just changed its leadership. So for the first time in 53 years, we have a woman Vice Chancellor. But the Vice Chancellor before Shirley Congdon, Professor Shirley Congdon, Brian Cantor, was with us in Abuja. So we didn't include this. We had a big peace conference alongside InBuild. So we had our Vice Chancellor with us. So what I'm going to do in that plenary session will be to give you principles from all the lectures we've been having. And then you'll have an opportunity to meet our role models, and they will tell you about themselves. When it comes to that slot, I'll give you a little more. We'll have group mentoring sessions, so you'll have an opportunity to work with real experts on subjects around key strategies, skills, leadership skills. So it's a very practical program. You'll have key principles, you'll have that translated into application, and you see real human beings who have embodied some of the skills, some of the tools that we'll be describing in the key principles session, and then you have an opportunity to interact. We'll then end up with that last session where we'll be looking through Slido and responding to as many questions as we can. I always like to say at this point, please make good use of your phones. This is a time to tweet. We like people to tweet. If you tweet, please hashtag InBuild Nigeria, handle at InBuild Nigeria, so we can collate all the responses from this conference. Moreover, after the conference, any question that you still have, put it on at InBuild Nigeria. We will be responding and chatting with you throughout on any questions you may have after today. So without further ado, I want to go with the first session. Next slide, please. So let me just tell you a little about myself. Every time I think about leadership, I think I really need to let people know what makes me tick in my life. So I thought I should do a little collage of me so you know who I am. So I'm letting you into my life now. Up there, I think family is very important for me. So the very first picture there is myself and my 4 children, 3 girls and a boy. And when I talk about leadership, our leadership comes with a lot of things, sacrifice, it comes with resilience. And these are the people that make me resilient in life. The next slide is that of my mother. I followed my mother's path, a retired nurse, so she said, my daughter, one of you must come into my profession, and I was the one that picked up to follow mom. Unfortunately, mom is living with dementia at the moment, but it gives me a renewed vision. So I go around, not just Nigeria, West Africa, just talking about how we support people living with dementia, to the extent that we've just launched some schools project in Cross River and Akwa Ibom State. We did some session for schools counselors as part of InBuild, and I talked to them about how to introduce dementia education in our schools. I've already got 3 schools, 1 in Minna, 2 in Abuja, who have asked to try out the dementia education. So Mom is very important in my life at the moment, because when she took ill, she said, whatever comes out of this condition, you must use it to bless other people, and that's what we're doing as a family. I beg, if you want clap, clap properly now. That one no nice. Clap well. Thank you very much. So the next is just to showcase M&S. And if you think there is any profession that cannot take you beyond clinical practice, people always thought it was nursing. But I tell you, I'm at the peak of my profession internationally. So please don't sit there and think, I'm a teacher. No, you can be anybody. You can make your profession big. And that's what I decided to do as a nurse. I'm going to be pointing. Just, I'm leading you into my life. I hope you'll have an opportunity to tell me who you are. And you get as honest as telling me if you are indulging in anything bad, because I'm going to tell you mine now. So when I was 50, that was 100 years ago, I asked somebody to make my cake. And I said, please, I'm not going to tell you what to do, just go ahead. And she decided to make 10 birthday cakes with shoes and handbags. And she said, Yudi, that's you in a nutshell. So that is me. I'm an organizer, community organizer. That is a session in a town. I go into villages. Some of you may not know that dementia, when people live in dementia, in our part of the world, they say they are witches. Because when somebody lives with dementia, they lose today's mental capacity. They talk about the past. And automatically, everybody around them thinks they are witches. So I go into villages. I go to grassroots, and I just tell people about dementia. And so that was one occasion where I had Paramount Rulers, women's group. But the exciting thing was that when the session had been organized, it was just before election. So the women were told that I was coming to do my political rally. So I turned up. There were thousands of women in different uniforms. And I walked in and said, madam, I hear say they come do campaign. I said, I'm a campaign now. I said, but are we voting for you? Now we vote for myself and all old people in this village. Initially, they didn't find it funny, but 2 hours after, I cannot tell you the testimony we had in the room. That's me there being adorned by the Prince of Wales. I am a member of the British Empire, so that was me being adorned. And then my people felt really challenged. So they thought, why would we allow the Queen to honor our own, and what about us? And I had this, please, madam, come in, our village want to. So in a space of 6 months, I had 4 chieftaincies, and I said, that's it, I've got it now. But what it does is it takes me to places that people listen, because when I go into Paramount Rulers Council, is it Traditional Rulers Council, I speak like one of them, and I use that as an opportunity to tell them about living with dementia and what it means and how we need to give people good quality life. This photo is of me and my mentor. This was the lady, Professor Mildred John, spotted me in School of Nursing and said, I can see a star in you and you're going to go far. So I do not joke with her, don't take her lightly. Because West African College of Nursing gave me a fellowship in 2001, and then I got the Royal College of Nursing fellowship thereafter. I've had multiple awards, but I like this bit because it shows that I create joy. I run a lot of parties, so if we want to start now, I'll be the first to dance. Why am I sharing that with you? Life around us is really turbulent, so you have to create your joy. So that's me in a nutshell. I could tell you about myself some more, but I just wanted to use this to get you into my life, because if I'm doing this session all day with you, you need to know who's standing in front of you. Next slide, please. Okay, so that was a topic that my colleague, Professor Ngobo, looked at, and I'm going to share a few principles. Whilst I'm doing that, can I just check Can I check? Can you check with the back room? Do we have the videos queued up? Can somebody check for me? Videos? Okay. So when they come back, we could just share a little clip from Professor Ngobo's, Professor Ngobo's session. And then I'll summarize. Next slide, please, whilst we're waiting. So Professor Ngobo wanted people to really get into the subject of leadership, and she has this slide up and wanted people to say, what do you think is going on here? I want people to talk to me. What do you think is going on here? So if you think at this picture and think about leadership, what's going on here? And don't be too quiet. Remember, we have an inclusive conference, so even if you don't get it right, nobody's going to shout at you or laugh at you. We'll all be very gracious. So what's going on here? Okay.
Hi, Prof. My name is Paul. I can see from the picture that one of the birds is actually leading the pack. So I don't know where they're going to, but obviously one is leading the pack.
One is doing what?
It's leading the pack of birds. So
right.
It's in front of them all, and it might be the leader as well.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. So one is leading, and then you have others behind. Make your microphone. Please, and then we'll come back to you. So keep thinking together. What do you think is happening here? So we've got one. Paul says, looks like there's a leader and there's a pack of birds following the leader.
My name is Olumide.
Yeah.
From the picture, I can see the leader is behind the followers. So the leader is meant to be at the front, but it's behind the followers.
Right, okay. Okay. Right, one last contribution. Shall we take the friend here? Yeah. Oh, are you dying to say it and you know the answer? We'll come to you, and that would be the last one.
I'm Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson.
And, like the first speaker said, the flock of birds or ducks, the leader is leading in front while all the followers are in their appropriate formation behind the leader. So he carries everyone along that way. So it's not like he sits at the back and expects people to go do the stuff for him. He leads.
Excellent. I'm hearing so many positive and powerful expressions. I'll just take one, not you, sir. We're going to take him because he's been literally dying to speak.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leo. From the picture, what I could see was I couldn't tell the difference between which one is the leader and which they're all the same.
Yes.
So the leader can be in the middle, can be the one in front, can be the one behind.
Thank you so much. Can we all clap for all the contributions? Okay, that's exactly what you've done. You've just, in a nutshell, described what leadership is about. Most of you have described that leadership involves two kinds of people. People actually leading, but then they have to be followed. And that leaders can start at the front or the back, or they could be part of this. And hopefully by the time I get to the end of this, we will discuss where the leader should be. The other thing is, If you're a good leader, you have numbers, a pack of people, people following you. Sometimes not really starting off with you, but they hear how good you are and they decide to join you. So that's what they're doing. Next slide, please. So who's a leader? Next slide. Next. So this shows that a leader must have vision and must inspire. So for you to have people following you, you have to know where you are going. So a leader must start with knowing where they are going to be able to lead others with them. And inspiration is so good because later on when we look at resilience leadership, you will find that sometimes it could be tough. I've had to monitor the security situation in Nigeria for at least 3 weeks before we set off because University of Bradford would not want me to take a delegation to Nigeria and people get into trouble because of xenophobia and the protests around that. I have been literally in connection with intelligence just to see whether it was safe to bring my colleagues. There were 8 of us. So one of the things that a leader does is they have to understand that it can be tough. So there were leaders in those protest groups and what were their responsibilities. So it can be tough. You've got to do it with inspiration. And I'll come back to that as we move on. Next slide, please. I guess, Ngobo, come here. What do you mean by this? Now, what she's saying is that we do have stereotypes of who leaders are. And most of us think leaders have been voted for and they're leaders. And we sit back and just keep getting the leaders to do things. But there's no such stereotypes. People don't fit that bill. You and I are leaders. And leadership is a journey. Most leaders are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And therefore, you, the ordinary person in this room, you can do extraordinary things. Next slide, please. I think there are some pictures. Yep. So these are leaders. Let's just test who knows who. So starting with, who's that? Gandhi, followed by? Everywhere has just gone quiet. Who's that? No, this one first. Don't jump. Plant a tree. Can somebody find out this name? Because I won't let us off if we don't call this woman's name. Sorry. Which Angela again now? So who is the first black woman laureate? Nobel. Central Africa or Mid Africa, Midwest, Central. Tree planting. Make una Google now. Which one una there? I've given you all the words to put for Google. Una want Google Big Brother only. Follow Google this one. Because I want you to call that name out. You will always remember it than me calling out. So what's the name? Tree planting, so to do with climate change. Nobel laureate, first black woman. Wangari. Can you just...
Wangari Maathai.
Wangari, yes. No, easy. Your own name, easy. I beg, stop that. Okay. So this woman touched my life. Sadly, I had just met her 3 days before she died. But it was such a joy to see a woman who can do such extraordinary activities in the midst of the experiences she went through, just to challenge some of the notions of climate destruction. Next. Oh, sorry, did I say next? Please, can you go back? I should not have said next. Next is reserved for only one activity. That. So, next, please. Can you stay there for a little while? Thank you. I want my young friends from school. Have you ever heard about Maya Angelou? Yes? No? Can somebody say something about Maya Angelou for our young people in the audience from schools? Maya Angelou, does anybody want to say anything? Does anyone want to say anything? Are you sure? Yes, keep going.
She championed the things that led to the freedom of black people.
No, okay. Right. So Maya Angelou is a poet as no other. So if you've heard any poetry about I will rise, have you ever heard about no matter how tough it is, I will rise? That's the poet. Phenomenal woman, phenomenally phenomenal. So Maya Angelou is a poet, has died now, but her poetry drives a lot of women's life, especially mine. Next, oh, sorry. That man there, we're not using next again. So who'll be that one? Barack Hussein Obama. Can you imagine a name like that in White House? Barack started as a senator, a community organizer, and he decided to do something extraordinary. I still remember in 2008, I was at a conference when the voting was going on. I was leading the conference and I said to everybody, when Barack gets in, there's something we will not do. We will not cook rice and peas. We will not cook jollof rice. We will be cooking mainstream food like spaghetti and so on, because we don't want to say that he is black. We'll say that he's president of America. And it happened. But that was a guy who started little. An ordinary senator became extraordinary. Now, you have your stance, but I still believe that he was a great president. Just compare him with what we have now. Please do not mention anybody's name, because we have a lot of Christians in this room who believe that the current person was sent by God, so we don't have a fight. And finally, on that slide, okay, so we know Martin Luther King. Okay, next. Proper next. Oh, okay. So I've already said this, it's not about titles. It's about one life influencing another life, okay? Next, please. So when we talk about leadership for nation building, we're talking about leadership in everything that we do, all spheres of life, leadership in arts, leadership in community organizing, in medicine, in law, every field. You do not need a title. You just need to be ordinary, wanting to do extraordinary things. I cannot say that enough. So there will never be a time where you think, because I have arrived, then I'm a leader. You should be a leader wherever you sit. Next slide, please. And we have more people who have led in all spheres. And I'm not going to ask you to list all of them, but I'm going to point to 3. Yes? Onyeka Onwenu. Is she a leader? Okay. Is she a leader? Does she have a title? Is she a politician? In fact, when she started, did she have any title? So now we have given her titles, but that's because an ordinary black girl started playing like you can never imagine. And now, look at where that has taken her. That one? That guy there. Grand Prix. Don't you watch this? See, that guy has a special place in my heart because I said to somebody, because this young man, at the time he was very, very young, a few months before Barack's, the election, the American election, he won Grand Prix at an age that you can imagine, can never imagine, and a black boy born to a very, very dark man. The mother is white. Nobody expected. So Lewis Hamilton, you've never heard that name? Lewis Hamilton is the name. Formula One. Yes. I'm sure you only watch Big Brother. I wouldn't have any Big Brother person on there, so I can try one more. He came to Nigeria and ate a pangokwa. Okay? So there's a theme here about people who just step up. That guy was a university student when he started the whole stuff about Facebook. Look at where he is today. So which means you can start. I don't think he was the president of America when he started this stuff, do you? I don't think Serena Williams was Oprah Winfrey type person when she started playing the way she did. But look at her now, she's leading. She is my role model. Did you know that I play? No, sorry, it's not good to lie. No, say that. Next. I was going to say, do you know I play like her and sometimes I beat her. No, it's a lie. So leadership can either be for good or for evil. And we've got 2 examples here. So who's this person here? Was his leadership of good or bad? What about him? So which means that if you are aspiring to be a leader, you have to decide that it's going to be for the good of everybody, because a nation builder should be thinking good. We can lead in the wrong direction. So you need to know what your goal is as a leader and where you're taking people. Next slide, please. So we've talked about leaders who can lead badly. So because of that, you need to start asking yourself, have I got the right attitude, the right skills? Do I really want to do this? Do I have the vision? Next slide. So if we need to cultivate, so think about cultivation. For some of us who used to go with grandma to the farm, cultivation comes with a few things. The soil has to be ripe so that the seed can germinate. But you need to do something for things to cultivate. There is some watering that needs to be done. So if you think about gardening, farming, the soil has to be right. For some of us who read the Bible, you've heard about spreading seeds on stony ground is not going to grow, and therefore to cultivate leadership, there has to be the right soil condition. Next slide, please. Next, please. So some of the things that will help with this cultivation, the first one is you. Can I repeat that? You. And it has to be you, the original, rather than you, the imitation. And I sat there in Radisson listening to Professor Ngobo when she said, I love Professor Achibong to bits, but I'm not her. I will have to lead as me. So there's no point pretending to be somebody else. Leadership starts with you owning up authentically to who you are and flow with it. But the things that will help you will be self-development. You can't lead if you don't know how. And self-development will help you, and that could be through formal or informal education. And you need to acquire relevant skills. You need to identify what strengths you have and also acknowledge what your challenge is, because if you don't, then you're not going to do what you need to do to heal and be able to do it right. You need to be confident. You need to be confident. I can repeat that. The level of confidence that you need as a leader is such that other people have to see. So you get to a situation of challenge as a leader, you're confident enough to get up and say, excuse me, sir, I do not think that. But it requires confidence. Next is stepping up. Nobody is going to pick you up if you're always at the back. Every time there's a need to lead on something, you're hiding away at the corner. Leadership expects you to be bold, to step forward and say, I will do it. Who do I call and how can I get you to work on this? Here I am. Send me. I will do it. You need to be bold. You need to be brave. You need to be confident. And be you. I cannot repeat the be you. I can say it time and time again, but you have to be authentic. Don't compete with anybody. The competition you should have should be with self. I should be better tomorrow than I am today. That's the only competition you should have. But what should be at the center of your leadership is being you. Next slide, please. Next, please. So some of the characteristics that you require: integrity. Now I have to say this because if I don't, others may not. I shared a few ground rules when we started. I came into Nigeria many, many weeks ago, not that long actually. I arrived on the 29th of August into Abuja, and I took out money from the bank, from the ATM, and I didn't realize that I took out 20s. I thought I took out 10s. So when I got to the airport, I was to give 18,000 to the driver. I gave him 2 bundles, and I took out 2 leaves of 1,000. So I thought I gave him 1 bundle of 10 and the other bit 8, only to discover that I actually gave him 20 and 18. Okay? Do you know what this guy did? He looked for me, went back to the hotel, got my details, sent me a text to say, Ma, you overpaid me. And he said, I didn't realize you had done it. It was when I started shopping. So I don't know how much you overpaid me by, but I know that I went to buy something and I found I had a lot of money. Please ring me. When I rang him, I said, I think I've given you 20 pounds, 20,000 naira over. And he said, Ma, just call any value. I believe you. I didn't count it. So I explained what I had done, and he returned my 20,000 naira. Now, I wanted to tell that story because sometimes we don't know what integrity is. But guess what? When I came back, because I went from Abuja, Calabar, Uyo, Accra, when I brought my colleagues back, I insisted that that driver works with us. At the end, we worked with him to the tune of nearly 300,000 naira. That's the only thing I could give back to him. That is integrity. A good leader who has vision does not think about now. They think about what happens as we go forward. Integrity is number one. So as a leader, you need to think and cultivate integrity, innovation, commitment, passion. Have you got the video loaded, ready? Okay. Critical thinking, communication, focus, and you need to include and empower people. But something must really shine through passion. There's no way you're going to get those birds to follow you if they see that you are grumpy. People see that you're always complaining, you're always whinging, you're always shouting at others. They won't follow you. You've got to show passion, and that passion has to be real for you to have the kind of followership that you need. So at this point, I'm going to ask that we just have a little video of Professor Ngobo. Now technology.
Good morning, everyone.
No, it's afternoon.
Did we all have breakfast?
No.
Are we raring to go?
No.
Good, excellent. Thank you all for being here. It's a privilege and an honor to stand before you. Just before I start, I want to say, don't think you're here by accident, or don't think that any of the
So we've given you some key principles. We're just going to show a very small video of Professor Owen, and then I'll summarize some of the key principles that he shared with us. Video, please. So as I introduced, Professor Owen has been working with UN, WHO, you name it, all over the world. Wherever there are arms problems, small arms, he goes round and advises. At the moment he's working with our presidency. So he looked at how you harness your personal leadership, particularly to do with how you promote peace as a leader. Still waiting for the video, please. And if Owen had been here, he would have contextualized his talk by telling you the experiences of work that he has been doing with many countries in Africa. He's currently training colleagues, African banks colleagues in Côte d'Ivoire, and he came from Côte d'Ivoire to join us in Nigeria. He was here on Saturday. And backroom video. Okay, can you put back my slide, please? Let me just give the summary. Put back my slide, please. Oh, okay. And is looking at your identity and how you convey that. How distinctive are you as a leader? And how do you communicate the value that you offer as a leader? The next thing is to model a do what it takes attitude. So people asked a lot in Radisson about sacrifice, a leadership and sacrifice that goes with that. This is what I call a do what it takes attitude. Sometimes it might take sitting on the floor with the people that you lead. Sometimes it might take standing up with everybody even if you didn't want to stand up. What does it take to do what you need to do? The next thing, summary that I got from his lecture, is that we need to realign our core values to those of the organizations we work with and our society. But we can't do that if we don't know what those values are. So it's inherent that we determine what those core values are so that we are able to align them. You need to hone your capacity for responding rather than reacting to people and situations. Now, I had to look up on the web to see exactly what this difference might be. And it was interesting to find that reacting is instinctual. You're behaving as an animal. So somebody says something and you open your mouth and scream. You are reacting in that situation, and it is instinctual. So a leader needs to engage his or her brain and respond in a conscious manner, a manner that is constructive, and it's about inputting from a more evolved brain, not the brain of an animal. So reacting is somebody walks in, and I'm going to keep using an incident of me losing my laptop. In reacting to that situation, I could have screamed because I knew that I needed that laptop to finish off this thing. So I decided I wasn't going to react, but I was going to respond, because reacting would have been just screaming, "Who's stolen my laptop? I need it now." I'm reacting to that situation. In fact, I haven't engaged my brain at all. It's very instinctual. But in responding, it was about really thinking through what could we do differently so that next time we don't put ourselves in a place where we're losing our personal belongings. So I had to think through an input and then get my brain to really kick in, and that came with a lot of calmness. And I'll talk to you as we go on about resilience in leadership. And the last thing is tapping into your innovative potential to bring out the best in you. And I say this time and time again, there is nobody sitting in this room that doesn't have the skills that we are describing already. But it's about tapping into your inner being to evolve, to bring about those things that you already have. So it takes a lot of construction, a lot of thinking, a lot of wanting it to happen. You have to get to a point where, as a personal leader, your personal leadership is about tapping into what you have in order that you can make it happen. So in a nutshell, that's a summary of what Professor Owen would be saying to you, but using his example of working in Africa on peace and security issues. So on this note, I'm going to expose you to some role models so that we can just break the plenary session with some activities. Can I have 4 chairs, please? 4 chairs. Role models, group 1, please, can you come forward? Role 1, group 1. Role models 1, please, can you come forward? Please, can you put your hands together as these colleagues are coming to the front of the room? Can you clap, please? Abi na no be Nigerian weather. If you want rain, you rain. If you don't want rain, you leave it alone. Aha, thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Yes, on this one. Right, we need one more. Thank you. Okay. Aha. So role models, you can sit down. Okay, so this is meant to be a fun activity of looking at real people who have achieved India's individual endeavor. Remember, we have leaders all over. I'm sure some of them will tell you they're not carrying the title that you expect, but they are leading. So they are going to give you some clues. So individually, the role models will get up and give you some clues. And we want you to then use those clues to uncover them. These individuals are covered. But I can tell you that you're safe. You don't have anybody from the other. That one I know. I'm not sure about Nollywood, but let's see. So they will give you some clues and we'll ask for 3 clues per role model. And once you've given any guess, if you get it outright, the role model will stop. He or she is not going to go through it 3 times. So if when they say whatever or do whatever they want to do, you can uncover them once, that's fine. They'll go ahead and pick it from there. Okay. So may I invite our first role model to take the microphone, please.
Close, but no, close. No, close.
Last one, last guess.
Close, close.
Okay, that's it.
Really close.
Really close. Last one, last guess, last guess.
I'm a general manager for a health company. So we work, I got the job because of a friend of mine introduced me to the company, and he was in Bradford alumni. So basically what we do is to create hairstyle for women, and not just any regular women. We also work with doing the project with some Lebanese partners, so we can get hair wigs for cancer patients. That's when people are suffering from cancer, they lose their hair. So it's different things that helps people. And my job is to make sure we achieve our goals, and making sure we produce things to that quality and meet our customer standards. For Bradford, Bradford helped me get that job, not just because of the network I got from Arena, but also the way I was able to strategize. Because my final project during my MBA was a marketing strategy. So with that, I could bring that same experience and knowledge into the role I have now. So Bradford is a place where you learn your skills, they give the opportunity to learn that skill. Because when I was doing my MBA, I actually worked with an actual company to develop a strategy for them, and that strategy then was in 2012. Social media wasn't that big, but my recommendation for them was to integrate and into social media. That's what they used. So Bradford is a great school. Everybody there to make sure you succeed. And that's what's been about Bradford. Yes, one. Musician. Okay, I'll just go straight. Okay, musician. Yes. Okay, my name is Leona Oji, and I'm a visual editor, a music producer, and also a Christian musician, sorry. What do I do? I produce. I produce music, sound. I also mix and master. I also sing. I'm into Christian music.
and I also edit, visual editing and graphic design. I mean, Professor Odwok has said a lot about leadership. For me, one thing that I would just to top it up is love. You need to love what you do first, and you need to love those you are leading, because I feel it flows more, smoothly when you love those you are leading. If there's no love, it's quite mechanical. You know, you're doing things just to get this. But if I actually love, you know, those that I'm leading, it comes from a place I'm more concerned about their well-being, not just results. I'm concerned about, okay, have you eaten? Are you well? Are you okay? Okay, before I now move to, okay, what do we have to do with that? I studied media studies with television in Bradford. I graduated in 2012. Bradford, I loved my experience in Bradford. When I got there, Bradford, what I noticed was quite a number of Nigerians and people from different countries, different cultures, name it, America, India, Pakistan, other parts of Africa as well. You know, I got to meet a lot of people. And one advice I would give, make use of everything you have. There are a lot of, especially for me as a media student, I had a lot of things to work with. You know, the studio, I remember so many nights I would, and it was free. They had cameras, they had, you know, boom mics, they had a studio that I could work with, both visual and audio studio. So I made use of the music studio a lot, you know. So it gave me opportunity to really improve my craft, and yeah, it gave me a chance to be more creative as well. So I would say make use of all the opportunities you have around you. There are a lot. We worked with also BBC. Yeah, a lot. A lot is just coming in the atrium. You know, you get to meet a lot of people. But it was a beautiful experience, and I'm glad that I went to Bradford and I graduated. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Okay. I told you the easiest one because I couldn't. So my name is Chinedum Akiti Diego. I graduated from Bradford in 2004. Masters. So call me auntie. So I do many things. Writing is just one of them. And just let me sell my markets more. In case you have a book you want to write and you haven't quite put it down, I do that too. But I'm head of HR at a firm called Alukan Oyebode. I write, I teach, I coach. Going to Bradford was great for me because, forgive me, I just knew I could not do anything else in Nigeria. It didn't make sense. I graduated top of my class in Nigeria. I knew that if this is the best, there's a problem. So I'm not dishing us. I just feel that there's a whole lot more that we need to do. And whilst we're doing that, let's consider options. The reason I chose Bradford was it was the most affordable university to go to. Very simple at the time because I was counting my pennies and it mattered. But interestingly, my brother has gone on to go to Bradford. His wife went to Bradford. So I think first and foremost, when you're thinking about a school to go to, there are many reasons you choose. And historically, Nigerians want to go to schools that, you know, when you call the name, you know, they'll shake. But I find that over time, choose a school that gives you options. So Bradford had a relatively cheap, what's it called? Cost of living was relatively low. And they had quite a lot of support for students. So see how many years ago I left, I still come. There's no time. There was a year, after I graduated, I used to go back to Bradford every year because I returned like 2 years, less than 2 years after I came. Bradford has given me opportunities. I've worked in companies like Maersk. I've worked in Lagos Business School. I've worked in Ernst & Young. I've worked good places. You know, Nigerians, we like, I don't know if it still works, but we like, what's it called? On the whole, the one drawback, the weather. You can see I'm shivering inside this small AC. So if cold is your problem, that might be a problem. But I survived, so you survive. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Chinedu has said everything, so I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, so. Great. Yeah. My name is Ehima Umaroge. I'm everything: consultant, project manager, facility manager. I've done all those things, so I'm just doing everything I have done. So I would say for what Bradford gave me is exposure. You need, in life, you need to be exposed, and Bradford gave me exposure. If you are where you are, experience exposure. That's what learning out of the country does. It just gives you exposure. You see things differently. And that is what I learned from Bradford. Fantastic experience, had great friends. I still have the company we went to school to. I even worked with a couple of them. We actually left, came back to Nigeria, and we worked together. One even became my boss, and we were like, wow, you know. So it's a fantastic experience. And one great experience I had from Bradford, which was, I don't know if anyone had that. The university actually picked me from the airport. So I listed, when I got my admission, I got my admission, I said, okay, I will get in on time. And they came to pick me from the airport, drop me where I was. I didn't know anywhere, really. I didn't know anywhere. They dropped me where I was in. And when I got to school, they took me around the town, showed me all the places. And Bradford was inexpensive. It wasn't a very expensive town, like London. So it was cheap. You can get Nigerian things. So it was fantastic experience, learning. But also, of course, I also say, if you go outside, also make sure you meet people and use that experience to better yourself. That's why we're all here, because we want to better ourselves. So that's what the Bradford experience was. It was a fantastic experience to better myself. So thank you.
Can I just ask our Group 1 role models if you line up and take a bow and say well done, not the Niger staff, take a bow. Thank you so much, role models. So this is active leadership. They've told you about themselves and what they do, and I'm just going to ask them to mention themselves again. Remember, networking. So when they call themselves, just write down. If you need to talk to somebody, this is the time. So starting with you.
Hilary Onachuku.
Lionel Oji.
Chinedum Akiti Diego.
Ehima Umaroge.
Thank you very much. Can we clap for them one more time? Thank you so much. So I'm going to go straight into the next set of key principles, another set of role models, and then we're ready for lunch and group mentoring. Can you cue my slides, please? Right, so what I'm going to do now is just take you through a session on being resilient as a leader. So, Navigating the Dynamics of Resilient Leader is the title of my next set of talk. Next slide, please. I'm waiting. Right, so whilst we're waiting for that to happen in the next few minutes, I'll just, please, can you put screen only? Thanks. I'll give you a little context and how the journey of a resilient leader, what it looks like, what strategies you need for success, and what challenges there are. Next slide, please. Next, please. So, there is the definition of resilience. So resilience is a quality that predisposes an individual to bounce back in the face of loss. So it's a quality that helps someone to bounce back in the face of loss. And I don't want you to sit there and think about loss from losing people only. That is a loss. We know that. Or losing a laptop. Yes, that is a loss. But I want you to think of a loss linked to some perpetual condition that challenges us. How long are we going to continue to be a developing nation? Does it not frustrate you? Because it frustrates me. It looks like we are perpetually in development, but sometimes you don't even see positive outcomes. So that in itself is a loss. The fact that we move 2 steps forward in life and take 100 steps backward is a loss. So resilience is being able to survive and keep going in the midst of this kind of condition. Next slide, please. So in terms of leadership, a resilient leader sees, thinks, leads in a way that he or she is able to navigate hidden dynamics within any organization effectively and with ease. So resilient leaders lead with calm. So if you think about the frustration that you may have with a situation of loss, and please let's think about loss more broadly than just losing things. Think about adversity beyond just losing things. Think about adversity of having to organize and sit next to people who are doing things that you describe as bad, and you're the leader in that situation. Think about being a young person in the midst of other young people who are misusing drugs. How do you keep calm? How do you embody calmness and communicate inner calm in such turbulent situation? How do you lead with clarity and conviction when you have that situation when people are genuinely angry about something? So you think about this, you read on the social media and you watch on television that fellow black people are killing your own in South Africa, in Libya, and you're a young person who is meant to be leading other young people in whatever you do. How do you embody and communicate calmness? So resilient leadership is leading from strength, knowing how to care for yourself emotionally, spiritually, physically, but still sustain that leadership over time. And if I may ask, that while the traditional definition of resilience is about bouncing back, for a leader, you're not just bouncing back, but you're moving forward in the face of that adversity. How do you stay calm? Because if you go back to Professor Ngobo's lecture, a leader inspires, a leader leads others. So how do you embody calmness, knowing that when you look at the flocks of birds that we saw in that diagram, they're looking to see how you remain calm as a leader? That's the resilience that we need. Resilient leaders behave in that way. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to say that resilient leadership can be compared to how our bodies fight viral attack. When we have common colds, I don't know about Nigeria, but in some Western countries, your doctor is not to give you antibiotics, because we understand that you build your immunity by being attacked regularly by those viruses. So what happens is you get attacked once, you have a flu, and your doctor says drink a lot of fluids and keep warm and do whatever. The reason is because they want your body to build some immunity, because next time you have flu, it's not going to be as bad because you're building your immunity. So if you compare that to resilient leadership, every time you have that attack and you respond calmly and you behave well, you're building your strength as an individual. You're building your strength as a society. You're building your strength as somebody who is representing and inspiring others. So that's why it is good that when we face those adversities, if we are able to manage them properly, next time we will be operating from a stronger base. So I'm just going to use myself to describe some of the qualities of a resilient leader. So starting with biculturalism. So a resilient leader is bicultural. And by being bicultural, I'm thinking of being able to flourish from multiple cultures. So I'm going to use xenophobia a lot and the response that we had in Nigeria. So you're a young person leading a group of people who are going to make their voices heard. And they're going to go into this thing that we call non-violent civil disobedience. We are not going to pick stones. So you are with a group of others who want to pick stones. A bicultural leader will understand from their point of view and decide that he or she wants to disarm them by doing something. Okay, guys, let's all sit down. Because you understand that they're very angry. And some of them are ready to pick that stone or those stones. So by coming down to their level, how are you going to throw stones when we're all seated? We're going to be talking. So you understand different perspectives, and that leads to the bit about multiple perspectives. But you adapt your style and your understanding of the situation because you understand all the cultures. A bicultural person is somebody who is able to manage the cold, like my brother just talked about, and still stay safe. But also understand that when it's warm, you have to do something about it. So it's flourishing between many cultures. So that's bicultural. A resilient leader operates from a transformational approach as well as being transactional. So it's a combination of using those soft skills, interrelationships and relational skills, but also doing the work. So a resilient leader is both transformational and transactional in one. And I coined the phrase transform-actional to represent that balance. A resilient leader has cultural capital. By cultural capital, you celebrate who you are and the context that you bring into a situation. And you allow that to be the capital that pushes you forward. So let me tell you a little story. I'm that resilient leader. Because Bradford University has had international strategy and way of working for some time. And I say to them, hang on, how do we use our cultural capital to enhance our international work? And I set up activities around us diverse staff being our cultural brokers. So I'm in Nigeria leading West African activities around international work because I say to my people, I have cultural capital. I come into Nigeria, I know how to interact with people in the presidency, and I know how to work with market women. My other colleagues will not have that. So cultural capital is that thing that makes you unique. Some of us do not necessarily celebrate that. I do it a lot. So I go into a situation and I bring my Nigerianness into it, but I still understand the mainstream. So a resilient leader is able to operate in that way. I've already talked about multiple perspectives. So as a resilient leader, you're going to have people having conflicts within your team. Do you just start acting when one person says the other person spat at me? Or are you going to ask the other party what happened? And then you go on and ask other people who saw it or didn't, what evidence do we have? And then you have a balanced decision on how to deal with that. So a resilient leader does not just operate from hearing one side of a story. In fact, they go on and hear 10 sides of the story. You might think they are slow, but the slower or the longer you take to hear the multiple perspective, the longer and long-lasting your solution will be, because you've given it some thoughts through consultation. A resilient leader is present, is powerful, and passionate. Presence in the sense that you have to lead from the front, from the back, you are in there. What does it take for you to lead in that way? I always say to people, my presence is usually in what I wear. Would you not recognize me if I come into this room? You would, wouldn't you? And I do mine with colors. When everybody else is fighting snow in dark colors, I turn up in bright pink. So whatever makes you present, do it. Yours might be that every time you open your mouth, people listen because you have the command of how your intonation. But I beg no do Canada. Presence. A resilient leader is passionate. When I talk about inbuilt, the guy at the radio yesterday said, Mama, you are so passionate about this. I said, yes, I believe in what I'm saying. It's such a long time that we've been undermining our young people. They have a lot to give. And because they have a lot to give, I want to do anything to support and empower them to give that lot to us. Thank you, thank you. So as a resilient leader, people have to believe in you by just seeing how you're passionate. But I beg that passion make you not be negative now, because there are also passionate people that will be Hitlers in some situations. So make your own passion positive. And we need to see power. And that power must not be capital P. Some people don't want to show power because I don't have the authority. Mba. Me, I go show my power, whether not small. But that power has to be there. So as a resilient leader, we have to see. The next bit is, it has to be values driven. Whatever you do has to be based on values, the values that we've always had. And I always say to us at this point, there are some values that are alien to us in this part of the world. And I think we've got to use those values, those positive, we want to contribute rather than taking, we want to give, we want to be mutual in the way we support ourselves and support others. Those are values that I have grown up with. Where have those values gone to? Why is tramadol being our new values? I'm not going to leave this alone because I watch channels a lot. And when I see what our young people are beginning to do with tramadol, I'm thinking, for goodness sake, don't we know that tramadol is given to people after very serious surgery and all other analgesics have been given, and then suddenly the doctor says, I'll just give this to you once or twice to make sure that we ease that pain. What is the pain that our young people are going through? Why are those values that we've grown up with not taking away the pain? So a resilient leader leads with values. Our faith and belief should be important. And whatever that belief is, we know we have three big religions: Christianity, Islam, and African traditional belief. My role is not to judge which one you follow, but if there is nothing in that faith or beliefs that tells you about resilience and helps you to organize, then you need to think again, because faith and belief are very important in the way we lead. A resilient leader engages with what I call self-mastery, and I'm going to tell you a story. How many of you know that I come from a riverine area? You can tell by my name now which one you did. Achibong. No be Achampong, na Achibong. Huh? Ghanaians think they all want to claim me. I go, Professor Achampong, I say, Mbao, na Achibong. If you want to call it without Oyibo, say Professor Asibong. Because they changed it when those people, Mary Slessor and the rest, came to our place. They decided to make it easy and anglicize it. So, self-mastery. I had a major surgery in 2010. So, for a young woman, at the time, I'm still young, okay. A young woman who grew up in riverine area, the only attempt of getting into a stream is when grandma says, take cassava, go store for this part of water, make it ferment, make her come make fufu. I didn't know how to paddle, not at all. 2010, I had a life-threatening surgery, and the doctor said, you cannot do any kind of exercise for at least 6 months. But madam, the danger is you might just pile up a lot of weight. You have to do something. And the only thing you can do is swimming. I'm like, what is he talking about? I can't even swim for anything, never mind swim to lose weight or stay healthy. But I took that up as a challenge, and I said, it's going to be about self-mastery. If I get taught, I'll be too embarrassed when I get it wrong. So, first of all, I was born at night, but no be last night. The first thing I did was to choose a swimming pool that I know go drown in. One that stops just here. So I jumped in. Every morning, you always go. I said, 7 o'clock, I'm the first person waiting to go in. I don't know how to paddle. I'll go and stand in the water and look and see how other people are doing it. And before you know it, I'm doing this, I'm doing. And then I bought every gadget there was. And guess what? 3 months after, I went into a competition and won. That is self-mastery. And we can all do it. A resilient leader needs to do that. That's why you don't need to go to an IT school to use a computer, because you can self-teach. You can teach yourself to do it. So, and there are a few behaviors, 4 in particular, that you need to think through. A resilient leader must love people. I heard as one of our role models talked about love. Love is it. Because if you want to lead people, you have to approach them with passion and with love. Influence behavior. To lead others, you have to inspire, influence them, but above all, influence the gate that you're trying to open for all of you. Values, I've already talked about, and we've talked a lot about vision behavior, looking at where we want to arrive together. There are a few personal strategies that I've used personally, and I want to share those with you. To be a resilient leader, there are a few things you need to do. First one is, please stay focused and stay connected. Staying focused, it can be challenging because we have peer pressure. We have other people who will be speaking into our lives. But if you have a vision and know what you are doing and where you're going, and your core values aligns with the values of our society, then you will not be swayed by everybody else talking to your life. So what is your vision? Where are you going? How can you ensure that you stay on it, even when other people are going to want you to do other things? Because if you have a strong belief in where you're going and what you're doing and so on, then the thing to do is just stay there. The next thing is practically, how do you position yourself? Positioning in terms of support. How do you gain support from people? I showed you a picture of myself and a mentor. Please don't ever pretend that you can survive in this world without having somebody that you gain support from. We need mentors. We need people to speak into our lives. And gaining support is a good thing. But we do need to give back as well. So how do we support others? And what's the balance between gaining support and giving support? The next strategy is expending your energies wisely. So if you stay focused, you know what negative energies are surrounding you. And you should be able to say, no, I'm not going there. So I'll give you an example. You're in a queue to get jollof rice, and I think that will happen later on today. You're queuing to have food. So my vision, my mission is to get there and get that food. But as you're going towards that food, people are saying things bad about you. What are you going to do? You're going to step out of line. Remember, we are in a queue. If you step off, you're going to go and start from the beginning. And then you hear two women gossiping, and they're talking about your wig. Are you going to get out of line just to go and say, why are you talking about my wig? Is that an intelligent thing to do? So that's about how you expend your energies wisely. So I keep my energy to get to the end of this line, at which point I'm going to pick my jollof rice. I am not going to be distracted by negative energies. I will just make sure I reserve my energies to get to a point where I can replenish my... Thank you. Reviewing my beliefs. There were things I was taught when I was growing up. And now I have come to see that some of them are not as good for me as I thought in those days. But I have only come to that understanding because I have a way of reviewing what I believe about a situation as I'm growing up. So one personal strategy of a resilient leader is to have this habit of reviewing your beliefs from time to time. So what did you believe about Calabar people? Say they only cook, they don't get brain. But you don't see me now. Wouldn't you change that belief? Because we get brain, no, I tell you. Ha! The brain self. Building on strengths. Building on strengths. So leave those weaknesses alone. Why are you wasting time trying to let me work on my weaknesses and work on my weakness? Who tells you you're going to succeed that way? So I use this example all the time. I have a weakness, and my weakness is food. I love food like mad. Just cook a pancake, see how I go chop them. Now, which one you do? I love food. But I also need to lose weight. But I hate the gym. So what makes you think that my work should be about trying to go to the gym when I don't like the thing? That's a weakness. I love food, so I eat food. What do? So rather than trying to work on not going to the gym, I have to work on what I do with food so that it doesn't kill me. Not be so. So my strength is I love food. What do I do with food? So I'm studying about good ways of eating, when to eat, and so on. By doing that, then I won't see the need to be going to the thing I hate now. You know, I'm driven by purpose. I always say to my children, when you get on that treadmill, where is it taking you? Have you ever asked yourself that question? So why do you want me to go and stand for that thing? And so you there. Where am I going? Nowhere. But so leave those weaknesses alone. What you find in life is that if you work on your strength and work on your strength, the result from the strength can then reduce the weakness to the extent that you don't really need to be bothering about it. Okay? So that might be a very flippant example. You can see other examples in life. You may not be watching a man called Gok-Wan. Gok-Wan talks to women about how to dress well. And Gok says, some of us spend all our time hating our bodies. my weakness is I'm pear-shape and K-shape. And you know, well, now they don't create all these shapes. And women are all going into mental health crisis because they hate their body image. God once says, stop that nonsense. Your strength is you have a body. There are other people who don't even have bodies. Do something with that strength. Go and make clothes where they fit your body. Small time you work out, everybody, oh, madam, you look good though. Instead of worrying about how to be size 2. How many size 2 do we want? If you be size 2, stay with your own. Make me stay with my own, but wear the cloth, wear better for my body. So that's how you build on your strength. So as a resilient leader, what you do well that you need to continue to do well, so it silences the things that challenge you, those weaknesses. The next bit is discovering your personal mission. So even as a leader, I beg, look at your own line. What is your personal mission? You know, I enjoy flying. I fly a lot. Honestly, I fly a lot. Somebody asked me the other day, Madam, why does it take you in a year? Other people struggle to get to a particular level of flying points. Your own, I say they do, I say they do. I say, they fly now, I love the thing. But one of the things that I love about flying is when they get up and tell you about safety. Do you always hear when they say, put on your own mask before you put another person in mask? Do you think they're stupid? You cannot help anybody, or if you say you don't know what you do. That's what it is. So for you to help others, you have to survive. And you can only survive if you know what you are doing. So what's your personal mission? And then how does that fit into the missions and the activities of the people that you're leading, and the organization and the society that you belong to? So discover your personal mission. And lastly, have a way of checking your own, audit your personal values on a regular basis. So what are my values today? Why do they still remain the values? I have very strong values because my mom drummed that thing into me. Respect elders, do that, do that, do that. And I do the audit every time, say, where am I with? What should I need to keep it where it ought to be? So the audit helps you to see those values that are important for being a good citizen. Where is it at? Are they diluted? What can you do to strengthen them? So undertaking your personal values audit on a regular basis. The main goal of any resilient leader is vision, goal, and determination. We are going to get there. We're going to do this together. And the end goal is that we are going to sustain our personal and professional self. So these are the things that you need to gain out of these personal strategies. Because a resilient leader needs to be systematic and methodical. So what do you need to do to stay focused? How do you position yourself so that you're gaining and giving support? How do you ensure that you're not distracted by every wind of doctrine? Because it's a waste of time if you go after everything that comes your way. As a leader, you cannot keep going. You know, somebody said to me, if you're a leader and you don't have focus, then this is what you do. Now, how many people do you see on the streets walking like this? Except if an individual has a disability and makes them walk like that, is a different thing. But if all of us walk around like that, wouldn't we look strange? So we have to remain focused and not be distracted by everything there is. So we need to make sure we expend our energies wisely. I forgot to talk about developing your internal resources. I missed that off. What are those internal tools, resources that you need to develop from time to time? How do you do it? So my big one is I read. I read a lot. And lately with social media, I'm going on that Twitter because it gives me a very quick feed. But one thing is you must tell fake news from real news. Don't ever read Donald Trump's tweets. Please write that down. Don't ever read Donald Trump's tweet. Yeah. Okay. But your internal resources have got to be developed. And that could be through reading, through writing, through meditation, through social engagement, because you want to keep building the inner you to be able to stay calm and lead and support others. Next, please. There are challenges along the way. I've listed a few of those there. A resilient leader can be isolated, because if you look at all those strategies, staying focused, now that it means you'll get to a point where your peers are not going to be able to speak into your life. And what happens then is you seem to belong to separate worlds from your peers as a resilient leader. That can be a challenge. But how do you resolve that challenge? The way to resolve that challenge is look at other leaders who look like you and behave like you and form your own networks to reduce the isolation. Another challenge is that other people then think you should be like them and others and so on. They don't see the uniqueness in you, and that contributes to the isolation. So, how do you establish other people who are traveling in the same line with you? We talked a lot about social media. I have been going into LinkedIn to read about what people are doing, and then I can determine how what I'm doing can fit in with or work alongside with, so I can form my own networks of people who see the world and travel the world and do the things that I do, so that the expectation that I'll be like other people is limited, is reduced, because I have also charted my own course with the people I network with. Backlash is another thing. Remember, a leader has followers. A resilient leader is going to stay calm. A resilient leader is going to be traveling in a way that sometimes might be difficult, because the young people that went before you behaved in a particular way, and you're going to say, no, I'm not doing that. Guess what's going to happen next? A few of the others will gang up. They will come together and start challenging the person in you and the work that you're doing. That backlash is there. We see it all the time. If you lead well, there will be backlash. My advice would be, if you get to that place, stay strong and make sure that you don't waver in the face of such challenges. And it's also, I think, a challenge for other people around you. If we have many of us who are leading in this way, then we have to support each other. So leaders should support leaders, and remember, we don't have titles. We have to seek ourselves out. We're not going to be called presidents, we're not going to be called governors, but we're leading our nation. We're building this nation together, we are leading. And therefore, if we want to prevent this backlash and help each other, then we need to know who else is doing it, so we support ourselves. I did talk about positioning, but there is a challenge that there is this constant, do I care for somebody in this situation, or do I look after myself? Please always remember, when you get to a point when you have to decide between caring for others and yourselves, pick self first, self-love. But don't stay too long there. You have to walk out and start looking at how you look after others. Horizontal hostility. The Radisson group asked the question, what is it? So, students of mathematics, what's vertical? Okay, so horizontal hostility. So horizontal hostility is peer-to-peer fight, infighting. So just like We know ourselves, we can support ourselves, we can also compete with each other. And I'm going to bring back xenophobia in South Africa. Horizontal hostility is a result or a consequence of oppression. People who are oppressed oppress other people. And we get into the battle of, if I oppress you more, my oppression go. Now lie. I tell my South African siblings, don't stop kicking black people, they're not your problem. Go and talk to your corrupt leaders. Talk to the oppressors that put you where you are now and leave us alone. Because we want to work together rather than caving into horizontal hostility. We see it every day in our organizations. I call it crab mentality. You see crab now? All of them, they down. If one try go on the top, drag him down, pull him down. So we have to fight against this as we've never fought before. When we see one of our own going up, let's not pull. Leaders should be encouraging and supporting, knowing that when they get there, they go remember us. So horizontal hostility is a real challenge when we have peer leadership. When we're talking about resilience in leadership, we have to face up to possibilities of horizontal hostility and look at ways of doing it. Another big challenge, and it's a massive one, is burnout. And do you know why people burn out? When you use confrontational approaches, you personalize every fight. Leader, stop that. If you want to be resilient, then you have to get to a point where something happens and you say, it's not about me. It's about something. It's not about me. Because if you keep personalizing it, you're internalizing it, the next thing is you just go. You go. You burn out. Every time I say, let's go for, I say, if you come and ask me about that, we go fight. It's because you've been so confrontational about what you're doing, personalizing everything. So a good leader is going to be talking and dealing with things objectively. They're not going to be internalizing it. Okay? That's how we're going to stop the burnout. Next slide, please. Was somebody timing me? Is that an alarm? Or what? All right, so if you were to remember 3 key things that you need to take away, those behaviors that inspire, deeply inspire others. The first one is be yourself. Be authentic, and people will think that you are the BZ. When I got my chair a long time ago, professorship, I used to have a researcher working with me. Before I got my professorship, I would turn up at work, and I always do this. I go to Gambia, I buy real batik, and I make suits with it. I go to Ghana, I get my kente, make suits. I come Nigeria and craft suits. So, and I've always dressed like that. I will definitely show some mainstream dressing, so my dress is going to be mainstream, but my jacket is African. So when I got my professorship, we were to meet in another city for a conference, and she had gone before me. When I turned around, I said, I was announced the day before that I had got my professorship, and this is the first meeting I'm going to have with her. She expected that I would turn up in Oyibo suit. And I had her running and giving me a big hug. Oh, Yudi, oh, I'm happy. I said, what's it? She said, I thought you would dress in English suit. I said, why? But you are a professor. I said, which one you did? I mean, I get my own lane, no. I did my lane now. A leader has to remain authentic. That's your path. Be yourself. So that will inspire people. And that for me was a real example of, because she had already started putting in our mind's eye, maybe Yudi will come in the morning and will not do this or work with us in this way because she's now a professor. She didn't see any of that. So I inspired her. The next thing is that we need to be other focused, but please do remember that there will come a time where your other focusedness does not trump your self-care. And lastly, storytelling. What do I mean by that? Do you know, I say to people, and we have this African proverb, that until animals tell their story, the hunter will always be the winner. Storytelling helps a lot in leadership. So when Chinedum was talking about writing, I clapped in my spirit, because as a leader, you have to get that story out. Is it in a book form? Is it in just gathering people and telling stories? And I'm not talking story. I'm talking about being able to recount experiences and making sure that you create that space and opportunity to do it regularly. That will inspire people. People are not going to be inspired by theory. So we decided that this leadership program, we're not going to say, and the Maslow hierarchy of needs says, that we will be talking stories. We were giving you examples of leaders, Obama, how they've lived extraordinary life, but they started like you and me. That's it. It will inspire people. Next slide, please. That's a diagram of my own journey. Next slide, please. A resilient leader should never be fooled by life. It's not going to be straightforward. It's going to be like the roller coaster ride. It's going to be bumpy, but the survival is in how you manage the adversity, how you manage the bumpiness as you're traveling. Next slide. Next, please. Right. I'm coming to the end of my talk, and I like this. This is my last slide before I come to the contacts page. Jack Welch said this, that before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. It's me, stand up, me, sit down, me. Every time, I. And then when you become a leader, success is all about growing others. So even if you forget anything else about leadership, this is something you must remember. Success is not about you. You're achieving success through others. So delegation is very important. And if you understand that this is leadership, leadership is about how you work with other people, then you will stop being me, and wanting to do everything and burning yourself out because you're carrying all the burden. The next thing is to remind us that a leader is a dealer in hope. You are inspiring hope. You're getting other people to want to wake up in the morning because they can see how you've dealt with that very, very difficult situation, how you have weathered that storm, and then they want to come to work the following day. They want to get up and do something the following day. As a leader, you're dealing in hope. And lastly, and I cannot emphasize this enough, please stop waiting for Buhari to do things for you. I'm sorry, you're going to kick me, but I don't care. Stop waiting for your governor to be the only, because they're not the only leaders. You're leading. You're leading from your seat. And what is that seat? You're selling groundnut on the streets. How are you leading that activity? That leadership comes with integrity. You're not cheating people when you give them groundnuts on the streets. So what is your calling? Where are you sitting? Because you need to bring these leadership skills into that seat. Stop waiting for your pastor. Stop waiting for your imam. Stop waiting for people who have titles. You are a leader, and please get up and lead. Get up and lead. Thank you very much. Get up and lead. Get up and lead. This is time for you to lead. You don't need a title. You can influence from wherever you sit at the moment. When people are trying to be disruptive in the way they challenge a problem, as a leader, you're saying, okay, let's reason together. Do you think our government will listen more if we go and have a protest that is peaceful? That's you leading. When you see people picking stones, When I was last in Abuja in July, I nearly got killed because a driver in my car mistakenly went into the religious protest in Abuja. I was in the last car before the next car was burnt. Okay? And I still remember getting out of that thinking, hang on a minute, was there a leader in that place that would have said, there's no point burning cars. Let's get our voices heard. Our leader has been taken in, but can we be non-violent in our disobedience? We can do that. And what I am commanding all of us in this room to do is stop putting that mantle on people with titles. It's time we all rose up and say we are leading from our streets. Every little leadership integrity I bring into this matter will add up to make Nigeria a great nation. Thank you very much. I'm just going to spend 5 minutes just summarizing what Mark Garrett would have been saying to us on the next title. Sorry, I don't need video. I think we're running out of time, so I need to be very quick. No video, please. We can load that on our website, inbuilt.com. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Is World Mental Health Day. Next, please. Stigma in our midst because some of us are living with mental health problems, but we then say. Please do not cue the video. We'll load it on. Thank you very much. So if Mark Garrett had been here with us, Mark would have been dealing with how you make personal impact as a global citizen. So Mark would have been talking about his experience of traveling the world. Mark would be, well, he didn't make Ghana, so he said, I've missed the opportunity of making the 75th country. So he's gone around everywhere, and he would have given you a little experience of his life as a global citizen. And then he would have gone on to tell you a lot more about being a global citizen. One of the things that being a global citizen, you have to be adaptable, you have to be flexible, you need to be aware of the wider world and your role within that wider world. A global citizen respects and values diversity, has an understanding of how the world works. So some of us are using our social media in a way that we shouldn't, because that social media is actually to help you see how the world works. Some of you in this room might think what is bad in Nigeria leadership and you're blaming everybody. Come and talk to me about Brexit. I'll tell you what that means. So a global citizen is interested in some of that turbulence, so it gives you courage to stay where you are. Because you think it's okay to be in the UK at the moment, and I tell you it's not. When the opposition goes in and takes over the commons from the Prime Minister, it is not a small thing. Okay? So a global citizen knows and reads about what's happening elsewhere. A global citizen has an understanding of how the world works, and it's outraged by social injustice. Wherever that happens, he or she is outraged. A global citizen participates in the community from all angles, from local, national, and globally. You're part of it. You're reading about it. You're holding a conversation about the things that you know. I beg, not just put mouth, talk nonsense when everybody they talk about other things. So that's not what we're talking about. It's being able to contribute intelligently on global matters and local matters. A global citizen is willing to act to make the world a more equitable and sustainable place. So how many of us do join marches when we have a march to celebrate World Mental Health Day? How many of us join social media chat on dementia? How many of us look at social development in the world and some of the international activities and just join, send a tweet, Snapchat and say this is what we did on the Dementia World Day? Because that's being a global citizen. A global citizen doesn't really need to be traveling, but at least you are interested in what's happening around you. They take responsibility for their actions. Global citizens take responsibility for their actions. So on the right in the block there is a definition of global citizenship that you'll find on the web. Is living that recognizes our world is an increasingly complex web, and we find a way of connecting with that world. Next slide, please. So some of the skills that a leader needs to be able to engage with the global world is adaptability, creativity, and proactivity. So what does that mean? It's being able, we've talked about being bicultural, we'll talk about looking at multiple perspectives. Being global means that if there is something happening in China today, you know that the time zone is different and you want to engage with it, you sit down and watch the television at the right time to be able to pick that up. Adaptability. You're a problem solver, you're a critical thinker as a global citizen. You're able to communicate ideas well with people in your teams because some of them will be coming from all over the world. A global citizen must have the skills of cross-cultural communication. So that means that you're able to, and we're not talking language, we're not saying that all of us will be able to converse in Yoruba, but we know that there's a way that you greet an elder in a particular culture that might be different from a culture that you know. Because you are global in your thinking, you can do it, you can flourish in that way. You're being connected, and Mark would have said, if you haven't got a Twitter account, this is the time to get it. Nigerians are so active on Twitter, and sometimes it's about learning the little things to tweet, not using Twitter to insult people, even if it's waking up in the good morning world to start off with. And then you start slowly and slowly, and you're able to tweet, today is Nigeria election, please let's stay with integrity, we are all leaders. The next time, today is World Mental Health Day. Let's drive the stigma in our midst, because some of us are living with mental health problems, but we then say it because of stigma. So you just start small and keep tweeting every now and again, because you want to be connected with the world around you. You're reading what people, the positive things that people write on Facebook. I do see horrible and insane writing on Facebook. So staying connected, using LinkedIn, using other social media to stay connected to the world. And lastly, very, very important, being culturally aware. Next slide, please. And may I invite our role models too, please. We're going to be very, very swift because we need to get into lunch. Thank you very much. Thank you. Role models, group 2. Group 2. Please, can I suggest that we have 3 guesses per role model, please. Only 3 guesses, and role models don't ask for more. And remember, if somebody finds you out, even in 1 guess, then it's okay. So you don't need to keep going. So who wants to go first?
Yeah, she got it right. Lecturer, yes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chukwudi Paul Agu. I'll tell you a bit of my journey. I'm a Nigerian. I grew up in a family of 4 kids, finished my secondary school, and then went into university. I studied town planning first degree. Then after town planning, I wanted to do something different. And then on, I started thinking about the university that's going to give me something different. At the time, everybody was going to the UK to do something similar to project management, program management. That's people within my area. So, but I wanted to do something that is different. So then I searched for universities, you know, bumped into University of Bradford, and at the time they had this program. It's called MSc in Human and Organizational Capacity Building for Development. It's a hybrid program. So I saw it, it had program management, it had project management, it had other things, it had human capacity development. And I said, okay, wow, this is different. So I wanted to go for that. I enrolled for it, I was successful, and then we were the pioneer students. I got into the university, fantastic university, beautiful community. I graduated, didn't make distinction, but I had the merit, thankfully for that, because I also made sure that I lived in Bradford. What I mean by that is, I didn't just go to uni. I went about doing things that other people did, you know, the good stuff anyways, not the bad stuff. And then after, and then after that, I was, now, let me take you back a bit. The time that you're supposed to do your research work, your dissertation, and then I started thinking about what to write about, because I didn't wait to the last minute. And then I thought about something within, you know, managing the different nationalities that come together within the university, because Bradford University is quite diverse in terms of the student community. So I thought about how is it that they're able to manage this, you know, diversity, different people from different countries, you know, it's about, I think it's over 100 plus. So how is it that they're able to manage it effectively, and it works for them, and it works for the students as well? So I thought about it, and then luckily enough, Professor Uduak Achibong happens to be one of the professors that I, you know, was privileged to be in her class. So after that, I thought about writing on diversity, managing diversity within a higher education institution. And then on, just to cut the whole thing short, then on I went on to, I was lucky enough to get a job within the university, and I worked with the prestigious research center that is led by Professor Uduak Achibong, Center for Inclusion and Diversity. So I worked with her, and she's my mentor actually. So I worked with her, and I did all sorts of stuff, with that amazing stuff. So after that, in 2014, I came into Nigeria. So my journey, Nigeria, Bradford, UK, back into Nigeria. But I came into Nigeria ready. So, and that's one of the things that Bradford, you know, does for you. It prepares you for the world out there, you know, the global experience, everything. So I came into Nigeria ready. And just a quick cap. The things I picked up, one is the research skills I picked up, you know, working with Professor Uduak. Now, as a lecturer, you must, if you don't have that research skills, you really can't set yourself apart. So I came in, I was working, I got a job with one of the universities in Nigeria, National Open University of Nigeria anyways. So if you're an academic and then you don't know how to do your research, you can't really go far. So I started working straight on. People said, oh, he's just an assistant lecturer, what does he know? But then on, anytime I'm in a group and I say something about research, you're like, wow, he's young, he's an assistant lecturer. How is he able to do that? What, I mean, where did he get that experience from? My Bradford experience set me apart from day one. Now, the other one is the communication skills, the last one, okay, the last one, well, not the last one, but because of time, is the communication skills. You listen to her. So having worked with her, there's no how I will be in a space and I won't be able to talk or express myself. So you know, from day one, people were saying, how is he able to say all these things within a short time? Well, it's because of the experience I had in Bradford. And the last but not the least is I did a course in human capacity development. We all have got the capacity in us. It's inbuilt, it's inherent. Find yours, fan the flame, and conquer the world. Team Bradford all the way.
Good afternoon. What am I? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I'm an engineer, a telecommunication engineer. I joined one of these telecommunication companies very early in the day and grew up through the ranks, became a supervisor, and started to have a feel of the difference between doing my designs and managing people. How many of us struggle with that? It's a whole lot of difference, because managing people is a whole lot of different from just doing your thing with your computer. So I learned early that I need to develop my leadership capability. I went into a leadership institute just to have a flair of that. And that kind of fanned the flame. And then in 2007, the company at the time was trying to develop their leadership pipeline. So one of the key requirements at that time is for you to also look at other courses you could do, leadership courses or management courses you could do to take on. And they were willing to sponsor 75%. I don't think Bradford was cheap at that time. They weren't. Yeah. So, because they were top on the list of all the schools available at the time, and I went for Bradford. Why? Because it was top ranking at the time in 2007. I think it was top ranking in the North United Kingdom rating. So it was the best for that kind of price. I just went for that. My experience in Bradford was long distance. So I was working here at the same time studying abroad, right? A few times I went for the block sessions, which gave me the opportunity to interact with international students. And believe me, I love it in Bradford. Just about 3 times. The first time, 2 times in the class, and then when I was doing my research. Okay, so a little bit about what I learned in Bradford, which has helped me in my career. Just after doing my master's thesis was in marketing. Why? Prior to that time, I decided in 2008 to go into MBA for my MBA program. I read a book about how to become a CEO. You'll be wondering. Now, something came out of that book. They chronicled Fortune 500 companies. What the CEO was doing just before he got promoted to become a CEO of a Fortune 500. 30 to 40% of them were ex-CXOs or CMOs. That is Chief Sales Officer or Chief Marketing Officer, right? 25% to 30% of them were ex-CFOs, which is Chief Financial Officers, those who count the money and those who make the money. Now, I'm an engineer. Reading that kind of statistics, I saw that only 5% of people in the technical leaning became CEO just before, were engineers just before became CEO. I was worried. So hence I decided, talking about my personal journey now, talking about taking responsibility, talking about trying to understand your worldview, I decided I'm going to have to change my leaning a little bit into management, into something else that is not exactly technical, leveraging my technical capabilities. So that was why I decided to move into marketing. Today, haven't finished my marketing, I got a promotion. That was the first thing that happened, but it was still in the technical leaning. As a senior manager, I had to make a transition between the technical to going into the business side, and that was what I did. I did that over a 4-year period. Today, I'm a general manager leading a business division, driving sales and also driving business expansion around West Africa. What does that mean to you? If you need to take advantage of what it is around you, you need to first of all understand where you are going, what you need to do to get there, and every step of the way, people told me, no, you don't have the requisite experience. Why? Because at the time I was a technical engineer. I was really focused on technical, right? But they needed someone with analytics, with a lot of background, who was understood the external environment, internal environment, all the things. At the time they were worried, maybe I may not be able to handle sales. But they were wrong. I did that, and that transition was quite interesting. So you could do that too. You could look at those possibilities. You could experience the change. You could set an agenda and get to your goals just the same way I did. Thank you very much.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Okay. Sorry? Well, yes, I worked as a risk analyst in the financial services sector in the UK. It's very straightforward, unlike my very good friend there. My name is Segun Adebayo, and I'm an alumni as well. Studied finance, accounting, and management in University of Bradford, and that was 2010. The experience has actually been great because it's personally, I love challenges. So when you see avenues that actually let you challenge yourself, that let you prove that, look, I might probably do something a bit better, or I might actually be known for something a bit better, then I think it should be welcomed by ourselves. Bradford, now the good thing about Bradford is it gives you that that communal platform to actually prove yourself, to push yourself, to learn, to research, and to actually, because the thing is, we need to do, we need to go through these exercises because where the world is going now, it requires I think the human capital development in us needs to be enhanced. So Bradford gives you that boost, and of course, let's just say the town on itself is very affordable, as we all know, and there isn't much to say anyway. But at the moment, I'm in manufacturing. We're working on having a processing facility for agro-commodities in Nigeria. Again, this all stems from the research that we held back in the UK. So I think it's very essential, and I'll support Team Bradford anytime.
Yeah, you're right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Adesoji Aleji. I'm actually an engineer, and you're right, telecommunications. Right. I think I don't have a lot of things to say. I'll just say a few. I had my MSc in Bradford in personal, mobile, and satellite communications. I actually love that. Why? Because a little bit backward. I don't like something stereotype. I tell people I would have gone in for medicine as my first degree, but human being is human being. The only problem we have is multiple diseases and all that. I like something changing per seconds, right? So when I wanted to go in for my master's, I just look around, okay, if I should go in for satellite communication, that is kind of in a boxed, is kind of boxed. I mean, just satellite. I needed something different. I needed a combination. There's something I love. I love interoperability, interconnectivity. So when I saw this course in Bradford, at first I chose electrical engineering, but getting in there, okay, before getting there, I just searched a little more. I saw personal, mobile, and satellite communication. At first I was confused about the personal, but I know mobile and satellite communication. So I felt, okay, this is what I actually wanted. I'll be doing a bit of satellite, a bit of mobile, and the personal that is not there is just like internal connectivity in an office and all that. So now bring the three together. A personal communication, a mobile communication, satellite communication. That was very great. And the lecturers were actually fantastic. I cannot but say this. There's one of the days in the lab, one of the lecturers is just trying to help us to do something on the computer, and the man just went, he just knelt down. He just knelt down to help us to do something. I was like, really? This will not happen in Nigeria. Nah. Now, there's another thing that is a big takeaway for me in Bradford. The lecturers respect you as an individual. Why? You are human. 2, you are paying their bills, but not in Nigeria. A lecturer will send you out of the class. He will do all sorts of things and say, no, you cannot have this grade. No lecturer tries it over there. You come to them, oh, please, I need a clarification. Say, oh, come in. Let's sit down to talk. And they just attend to you as if you are you are a professor like themselves. And lastly, I will say this. Bradford has got fantastic labs. I mean, I have opportunity to work with Professor Fong Wu. She's one of the top wireless communication professor in the UK, and she has handled billions of pounds projects. I mean, European projects and all that. So there is a lot of labs. Unlike in Nigeria, almost every professor in Bradford has his own lab, his own research lab. That is the way it is. And the labs are well equipped. I think Bradford is a good place to be. If you've not been there, thank you.
Thank you very much. Just so you know, we didn't tell them what to say. Some of them I'm so, humbled by some of the things that they've said. Paul, you will talk about it. I didn't know that he would say that, because I kept saying to him, just talk about your leadership skills and leave the other one alone, and he didn't. So thank you guys. This is real leadership. It is real leadership, and I don't think that it's because you're managers in your workplaces. It's because you have traveled with the key principles of just leading. So thank you. So do you want to line up and just take a bow? By the way, we asked for volunteers. In Radisson, we had more women and fewer men. I'm sure the women couldn't stop the housework quick enough to come out. And then this time we have more men than women.
Am I to say something? Okay, my name is Chukwudi Paul Ago.
Shegun Adebayo.
Olusegun Salami.
Interesting. Adesoji Aleji. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. So in one quick swoop, we've given you principles of leadership. We've encouraged you to just unleash that thing that is in you. And we've given you examples of real people who are doing some of the things that we have included in our key sessions. What remains now for us is to get into interactive sessions, and you are going to be fed. So we are combining lunch with what we call group mentoring. We're going to divide you into very, very small groups. key speakers who are not here with us, and the others in the room have picked that up. So the next one is about scholarships. Keep going. Can you scroll up, please? Right, I'll control it myself here. So questions that I can just say, yes, we do. Questions about whether we have distance learning program for international students, yes, that's the answer. But when you speak to my colleagues Shirley, Siobhan, and Ese, you will be told about the specific programs that we have that you can do from the confines of your bedroom. When will the next program come up in Lagos? I assume the question is about InBuild 2020. So we're yet to determine that, and we'll definitely publicize through our social media channels. It's a question about us, whether we have an affiliate program for online publishers and educational bloggers. John, can you please come and speak to me so I understand exactly where you're coming from with that? We do use Canvas as a platform for delivering our distance learning. So it might be that we just need to talk through how that works with you. Scholarship is the next one. For undergraduate students intending to study English language, is there a scholarship that covers that? I will pass that on to, can that come to the desk, that question? Okay. There's a question about whether we need IELTS certification to do masters in any course in Bradford. Shirley, do you want to take that very quickly?
Yeah, I can answer that. So you probably heard of the IELTS exam, which most universities or a lot of universities ask for as evidence of English language. Obviously here in Nigeria, you do English all the way through your schooling. So we will accept your high school certificate, the WAEC, so long as you have a C6 or above, and that's for degree level entry. So if you're entering an undergraduate degree or a master's degree or a PhD degree, we can accept the WAEC at C6. It's only a foundation year, if you have to do that, that we require an IELTS for, and that's to do with immigration rule. Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you very much for that. Quite a lot of questions around scholarship, but I can just get this out of the way and then you can follow through with specific scholarship. Bradford University, when we came with our Vice Chancellor here in April, he made a promise and he delivered on the promise that once you complete your application form and your country is Nigeria, you have automatic 3,500 discount on your fees. So that I can just get that out of the way. Every Nigerian that registers to study in Bradford gets £3,500 discount, and you'll be told more specific scholarships and things to go with that at the desk. So there's a question here about master's degree around human resources or international relations. Yes, we do that, and you remember we had an alumnus who talked about his MSc in that field. We have a very good business school, and it is now a faculty that brings law, management, and social sciences in one space, and we do a lot of programs in that area. So please ask more specific questions from the desk. Programs on public relations and advertising. Again, there is somewhere that you can direct your question. Gosh, every question is about scholarship. Then there was somebody who asked a question about Serena Williams, whether she is a champion or a leader, and then somebody else provided a response and said champions lead, literally. So we don't need to go into that. That was settled. And for me, that is an indication that we have learned Because a true leader is somebody who sees that and deals with it there and then, and it doesn't need to get to us. So the response has been given, and we'll leave that alone. So there's a question here about whether we would share Professor Ngobo's video. What we'll do is we'll look at all the materials for inbuilt and see how we can customize it for inbuilt platforms. What is the current cost of living in Bradford? It is a question we can take at the desk, but do you want to just say something, Shelley?
Yeah, the exact number differs depending on whether you're going to be studying for an undergraduate degree, whereas you won't be there the full summer, so it's a different annual living cost. We've got it all written down in our prospectuses, broken down by your accommodation, your food, your expected travel costs. What I will say is that we're a very inexpensive city, Bradford. It's quite a small city in comparison to Manchester and Leeds, certainly in comparison to London. So it means that the living costs are much lower to live there. I think they're around £7,900 a year. The UKVI has a stipulated living cost you'll need to have in your bank account when you pay for a visa. Again, that information's all in our prospectus. Our international students have rated us within the top 5 in the UK on 3 things regarding costs. They've rated us top for living costs, which means we're expensive, we're not high, satisfaction with accommodation costs, and financial support. So our international students think that we do very, very well for our cost of living, and I'm sure our alumni will back me up on this. I was an alumni at Bradford myself, and you do find that your money goes a lot further in Bradford.
Thank you very much for that. And interesting, Hush has provided an answer as well and has given us a link to exactly where that information exists on our website. And Hush has further recommended that if we need answers to some of these very technical questions, in addition to speaking to colleagues at the desk, that the answers can be found on the website. Do Bradford allow students to work while learning? Yes, and big yes. So there's something big about how we help our students to apply knowledge. And we have placements and so on, but it's okay to work as well, but it needs to be within the regulations. So at the moment, UK Border Agency regs is 20 hours maximum per week. However, as a university, we also have to help our students to succeed. So there are courses that we could place a cap on. My PhD students, I don't let them do the 20 hours per week when we are concentrating on very difficult chapters, but other times I could let them do up to 20 hours per week. So again, it varies, just so you can achieve that vision of finishing your course. And I'm just going to try and close this now. One of the things that you need to do as a leader is not to exploit. The last thing we want is to be too comfortable with how gracious you have been with your time and keep you longer than we should. So I'm going to try and bring this to a close so that we can all go home and rest in readiness for tomorrow. So can you put the last slide, please? Back to slide, please. Oh yeah, control room. Yep, thank you very much. Can you take us to the? Yeah, okay. Right. Okay. Okay. I think we've really spent a great time together. One of the big things that I'd really like to, I think, I think we need to get to a point where we get to places on time. Because what that means is you have everything that you want. What we've done is really squash this within fewer hours, and I think we started late, really, really late. So that's one big thing. But we've talked through some of the skills that you need to be a good leader. And if you haven't learned anything today, there is one thing you must take home, that you do not need a title to lead. You just need to lead from wherever you're seated at the moment. I gave an example of how you can lead from being a hawker on the street. You can lead from your office as an assistant lecturer. You can lead from your office as a youth worker, whatever you do. So those principles that we've talked today would apply to you. Principles of influencing, principles of keeping calm and ensuring that you can inspire others to work with you. The principles of being passionate, being powerful, and making sure that you actually put yourself in that place where you can love and give love. That is what leadership is about. There's no point complicating it. We gave you a long list of qualities that you need. Integrity is top. Being responsible is another good one. And we can go on and on about it. What I've really enjoyed in the last few days when we've gone around doing inbuilt is the thirst. My people are hungry for this literal permission to be yourself. And yourself is a true Nigerian wants to nation build. It looks like we were all waiting for permission. And what we want to say to you is, you have got innate skills to lead. And the permission we're giving you is, it is not just up to the president of the country, the governor of your state, it's not just up to members of your local government council, whoever they might be, your paramount rulers to lead. Because you're a leader and we've given you these tools. Please go out and flourish. I want to end that as a good leader, you want to leave your followers with 4 key things that would make them enjoy your leadership. Is that you leave them feeling significant. You want to leave them feeling appreciated. You want to make sure that they feel they are valued and included in whatever you're doing. So I'm going to go through that again. All of us in this room need that feeling of significance. That means that my voice is also part of everything we're doing here. It means that my contributions are important. So that feeling of being significant. We want to be appreciated. That little thank you very much, that was excellent. My people, we've got it in us. And we do it better than anybody else. So we need to lead and leave people feeling appreciated. The bit about valuing people is often taken for granted, that because we are a people who always go, oh, good morning, sir, KBSC, that's good enough. That's fine. But we also need to show that we value people's contributions. And lastly, let's include people. We were at the Peace Conference, and one of the things that really occurred to me, I was looking at a topic of managing diversity mechanisms to use. And I feel very strongly that things like affirmative action through federal character, I want to close my eyes whilst I say that so I don't see your faces. Affirmative action where we say 35% of our leaders will be women, and we've never had a woman governor. So I'm closing my eyes, I don't want you to look at me. So those mechanisms are in place and they're fantastic. But the reason why we're struggling is we don't even have the spirit of inclusion. Even in a diversity conference, and they know I'm going to do this, I'll use it for all my talks. Even in a diversity conference in Abuja. If you look at the NTA coverage, cameras were plugged to just men, groups of men. All the people interviewed were men. and they were all viewed live coverage on NTA. And I was so disgusted that I nearly hit the roof, but as a resilient leader, I had to calm myself down throughout. So inclusion is very, very important. It's about understanding that all of us have things to contribute. You could be embodied in a male body, a woman's body. 50% of our population, or a little more, are women. So how on earth can we lead and exclude women? It means that we're not traveling with all the skills we need. Issues of gender equality is not a game, it's not a play, it's not a laughing matter. It is real. Because at the end of the day, there are things women bring into leadership that men deal with differently. So it's bringing together the positive of male leadership styles and women leadership styles and so on that creates the whole that we all want. I always say to people, we are missing something in the middle. And that something is how we work with non-traditional leaders, mostly women, to help us advance this country. I'll come back to you when we have women campaigning to be governors. I tell you what, I will leave my work and come and campaign with women governors. And I do hope that you'll join me. It's not because they're women, it's because they have things to offer. So if you forget anything else, lead and leave people having significance, feeling appreciated, valued, and included. Unfortunately, if you don't allow people to have those four things, what they do is a willed power, and a willed power negatively, and that's when we have deviance, fights, and so on. So if we want to lead peacefully, leaving people effective, then we need to promote this concept called savvy. Last slide. We will be back, and we will be back in different ways. So please watch this space. Speak to your family about the University of Bradford. We mean it. We're not just doing lip service. We want to contribute to nation building in my country. So thank you to Bradford delegation for doing this with me. Please, can we clap for Bradford delegation? And I'm going to call out names. Shirley Hurst, Siobhan Evenan, Ase, Professor Ngobe Mese, Professor Owen Green, Mr. Mark Garrett, Professor Brian Cantor, and these were the people that came with me to Nigeria, and we have worked extremely hard to show you our hearts. May I say a big thank you to Mr. Alfred Itwen from Aduvia International School, Abuja, who has helped us coordinate the whole of Inbuilt. Thank you, Mr. Itwen, Mr. Alfred, thank you for the work that you've done to bring this to a place where we're all smiling, and it's been really successful. Lead Busy and Coded TV, it's been a real joy to work with you. These guys have worked so hard, and I told you last Wednesday we trended. I mean, I was so excited because when I got a tweet from somebody saying, have you seen, Inbuilt Nigeria is trending. I was so excited, I had to ask, what does that mean? It says UD. Look, every time you click anything that you're in Nigeria, Inbuilt comes up trending. So that was us. And you guys have worked extremely hard. Mr. Enoch and team, you have worked so hard. Thank you so much for partnering with us. Thank you so much for partnering with us. I always like to say at this point that please, if I have missed you out and I've not given you a special, how can I forget our alumni, our role models, the people who are embodying real leadership. We are so proud of you guys. It's been, gosh, you have no idea how proud I am. Right from Abuja, I was saying to people, University of Bradford is blessed. If you don't know this, please know this, that all the peace empires in Africa, most of them are led by Bradford alumni. I don't want to name names, but think about Victim Support Fund, think about presidential amnesty for whatever, think about Peace Defense College and things like they're all led by Bradford University alumni. We have people in businesses, we have alumni in engineering, health, you name it. You guys, you are our pride and joy. We are so happy that you're not letting us down. The integrity and the values that we've been telling you when you're in Bradford, and you're mixing it with the core values of being Nigerian. Guys, you've done extremely well. Thank you ever so much. And I want to call the rest of you prospective graduates. You've heard what Bradford stands for. We're not going to water down our standards. When you come to Bradford, you will feel and speak the same way about Bradford. It's been such joy to be here. I'm so proud to be the daughter of this soil. Thank you ever so much, everybody. Thank you, and clap for yourself. Thank you. So I feel like saying, I now declare IMBIL 2019 closed.
How was IMBIL 2019?
It was excellent. We were able to cover a lot of things, meet a lot of people, especially people that are new to Bradford, have not heard about Bradford before, they want to further education and also know about leadership. This was the event for them. It was very, very interesting and very informative.
Okay, so as an alumnus of this great citadel of learning, University of Bradford, what do you have to say about the school?
The school is a wonderful school. I spent almost a year there. I got the best education I could think of. The lectures were great, the environment was great, the city was great, everything was there to support students so they can do very well. I encourage people that if they think about doing education in the UK, they should consider Bradford, because it's going to be very, very, very good for them to come to a school that has a good reputation, is very affordable, and is placed in a very easy location of Bradford for students all over that want to consider it abroad.
Okay, sure. When you were coming for this event, you had expectations in mind. Were your expectations met?
Yes, not only my expectations were met, they were surpassed. It was a great event. It was well organized. It also gave the opportunity for people that are considering Bradford to get to meet the alumni and get information and actually have a good experience. So it was really surpassed my expectations.
Okay, so what do you have to say to people who are considering University of Bradford?
Well, they should actually consider it and actually go along. I don't see that them having any drawbacks or regrets. It's a great school and it meets all their needs and it even goes further than that. So if they're really thinking about coming to UK, they should consider Bradford, because that's a school that is going to go out of the way to help them achieve their dream of getting a further education.
Okay, so one word for IMBIL 2019?
Oh, one word for IMBIL 2019. I'll say impactful, because that's what they want to end.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can we meet you?
My name is Enoch.
So Mr. Enoch, what role did you play in IMBIL 2019?
Okay, I handled this social media as well as the physical publicity for the Lagos events of IMBIL 2019.
Great. So were your expectations met for this event?
Yes, in terms of organization, I think it was perfect. Then in terms of what attendees gained at the event, I even, as an organizer for the event, I also learned a lot. At this particular point in time in the history of Nigeria, we need a whole lot of leadership. And we need people who have passed these paths, people who have practical experience, come share these things with we young Nigerians. Also, if you look at the way leadership is, it's always good to have focus on the next set of leaders. And with the demographic structure of Nigeria, you are looking at the young people, you are looking at those who are entering university, you are looking at the recent graduates. So people with the global mindset, people who have seen it both here locally and globally, come to share 1, 2, 3 things to us. I think it's a very good one. Looking at the faces of the attendees, I saw hunger, I saw passion, I saw the way they took down notes. So I think the expectation was met. I've listened to some of them too, and I think the expectation was met.
Okay, so your expectations were met. What do you have to say to Nigerian youths who are viewing you at this time?
Okay, my message to them is very simple. Be resilient. Be resilient. Just like Prof. Udi said, it's okay to bounce back. yes, from whatever challenges or setback that you have, but your resilience should get to a point where you don't always bounce back. You are always proactive, you are always on the move. So I think my word to Nigerian youths is, first of all, be resilient. Then secondly, be value driven, have values. Let it get to a level where you do things not because of what people are doing, you do it based on who you are. This is who you are and this is what you stand for. So 2 things, resilience and be value driven.
So what do you have to say about IMBUILD 2019?
The program from start to finish was superb.
Oh wow, it's been an awesome experience all around Nigeria and finally in Lagos. We had one on Saturday at Radisson Blu and right now we are in Oriental, and it's the wrap of IMBUILD 2019 put together by the University of Bradford, all in a bid to inspire the next generation of leaders. I hope you had a great time because it was a very amazing experience for me. I met a whole lot of people, I learned new things, and I've been exposed to a new worldview. I trust you did too. If you didn't, you can check on our website, you can check on all our platforms to catch up with all the information real time. Cheers.